We're back live on the other episode, on the other place by the way. But download the podcast and make sure you guys are following the speakers up here that you guys resonate with. But with that being said, folks, we're going to jump right back into this as we have people already back on the other platform. So we're going to go ahead and jump right back into this. Go ahead, TC. I think you were speaking. Go ahead, TC.
Yeah, I mean, I made my point. The president cannot
TC,
profit from his office. It's just that simple. You don't have the president promoting his office as a way to make money. Sorry, I'm a little winded. I'm working out here, but he cannot do that. And the courts have sided with uh, with the definition of what emoluments is, which is the president getting any gain, deriving any gain from his office. What Donald Trump did as a private citizen, his business continues. He is entitled to allow his business to run. He does not have to lock his business up, shut his business down, and throw it away. This has already been litigated in the courts, um, and they found in the favor of Donald Trump. So why are we debating this when the Supreme Court has already debated this beyond me?
The Supreme Court never
Well,
had this case. The Supreme
can
Court
I?
never had a case. Well, no,
Well,
TC. When did the Supreme Court debate that Donald Trump? When did Donald Trump go to the
Uh,
Supreme Court about his businesses?
that's
this has
nonsense.
been
No, no, no.
litigated in
I
the
know.
courts.
I don't need everyone to jump in because TC just said something that he needs to now. He needs to now document. TC. So when did this happen?
Yeah, give me a second. I'll be right back. I'll find the text, chapter, and verse, and I'll be right back.
Good night, TC. See you tomorrow.
so, if I could hop in, um, I used to work for the Office of Government Ethics, right? I was a financial analyst, and the thing that you all are forgetting, and about Trump, even before I even go to even tackle the emoluments clause, is that DOJ actually has to be the ones that bring any type of prosecution for ethics violations. So all OGE would do is send, divestiture letters or give the advisement, and then if it goes unnoticed, then it goes up to DOJ. More than likely, DOJ is going to side with the president, and they are not going to do anything about it.
All
Right?
right,
Doesn't mean that
let me
they
get the
aren't ethics
cases.
violations. Doesn't mean that they aren't ethics violations. But because DOJ won't do anything, that is why people have the notion that he isn't violating ethics law, and he actually is. The other thing, though, about Trump is he did not take an ethics pledge. He didn't. Now, his appointees, for the most part, have, but every other president has taken an ethics pledge. He has not, right? And I mean, we even had these issues. If you look at his last term, Kellyanne Conway, we issued, and I was there then, we issued a recommendation because Kellyanne Conway went on national TV and promoted Ivanka's shoe line. That was an ethics violation. And that was Ivanka's shoe line. So even if we go to Trump's whatever he's selling, according to ethics law, he is wrong. He is violating ethics law. But because DOJ will do nothing about it, it doesn't matter. And that's the thing about, I think TC kind of alluded to it when he first started speaking. It's the thing about the office of the president is they bank on the fact, or they hope that he will be ethical. But there are a lot of gray area. And all there has to be, guys, the threshold is this: the appearance of a conflict, the appearance of an ethics. That is the threshold. Only has to be the appearance. But if DOJ does nothing about it, it goes nowhere.
All right, appreciate that, chat. Jonathan was wrong as always when he tries to try and challenge me. In January 2021, the Supreme Court dismissed the emoluments cases that were brought against Trump as moot because Trump was no longer in office. The key emolument clause cases that was brought before the courts in 2017, Crew versus Trump, filed by Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, arguing that Trump was violating the Foreign Emoluments Clause by profiting from foreign governments staying at his hotels. Number two, DC and Maryland versus Trump, argued that the Trump's acceptance of payments for foreign and domestic governments at the Trump International Hotel in DC violated the Foreign and Domestic what? Emoluments Clause. Number three, Blumenthal
One
versus
second, one
Trump,
second.
brought
So
by over
the Supreme
200
Court,
congressional
TC,
Democrats, also
TC, no,
challenging
TC. Can
Foreign
y'all meeting him?
Emoluments
Drop it down,
Clause.
please, meeting.
This
Okay,
is this
because
is the oh, now
drop
you're gonna
TC
interrupt
off the
me and then
stage.
drop.
No, drop him off the stage because when I start speaking, you stop. That's the rule here. I'm sorry. All right, because I want to know whether or not the Supreme Court ruled on that or whether it was
I
another
just gave you
court.
the answer on that. It was in
Okay, no,
2021 they
bro,
did rule, and they
one
did.
second, one second. When I ask you to stop, that's why I need you to stop. All right, because I'm quite certain not only myself want that answer, others. So was it the Supreme Court that ruled on that, or was it the district court, or was it what? What was it, guys? Did he say the Supreme Court ruled on that? I want to know who ruled on that.
He originally said the Supreme Court.
Okay, that's what I
Can
want to
you guys
find
hear
out.
me? Are you guys able to hear me?
We want to know.
Hello.
Yeah, I was at. I can hear you now. Who ruled
Okay,
on
I
that?
didn't hear anything Jonathan said, but like I said, there were multiple course cases that were brought against Trump in the
Which court?
Supreme
Which
Court.
court
The
ruled on
Supreme
that?
Court in January of 2021 dismissed those cases, Jonathan. Exactly what I said. In 2021, January, to be exact, the Supreme Court dismissed them.
But
Why are you so
TC,
Hold
you
on,
angry?
said
Are
they
you
dismissed
trolling?
him because he was no longer in office.
one second, guys, one second. Because 2021, January, okay, January 2021, Trump took office in, okay, 20, okay, gotcha. All right. So, all right. So you're saying, all right, no problem.
But
I just want to,
it was only dismissed because he wasn't in office. It was deemed
that's what it
moot.
was.
The
That's
Supreme
exactly
Court
what I was going to
still
ask. That's
opined
That's the
on
only
it.
reason.
It's
That's
not.
exactly what I was going to ask. That's
Then
exactly what,
say okay, the Supreme Court opined on it, but they ruled against it because he was no longer in office. But don't say the Supreme Court never ruled on it. So I go back to what I
okay.
said.
But,
They brought this. The Supreme Court
TC,
dismissed it.
TC, they never did. He wasn't a sitting president at the time, TC. They
Okay,
punted on
great.
it.
Thank you for that
They punted.
observation. Beautiful, great. But don't say I was wrong.
Yeah, what?
If
Okay.
you're going to be
No,
intellectually honest, be intellectually honest.
TC. We want to talk. We're talking about a sitting president right now. We're not talking about a president that's out of office.
I appreciate the distinction. Let's keep the conversation moving.
No, that is not a different distinction. We're talking about the
Yeah,
current
Jonathan,
president.
you're right. You're right. I was wrong. Go ahead.
I'm not
Continue.
talking about TC. Yeah,
Everybody
yeah,
tell
yeah.
Jonathan
I'll
he's
take that.
right.
I'll take that. I'll take that. What the hell? Because I have no problem with that, TC. Because obviously we're talking about a president that's in office.
Yeah, now he's trying to change the rules. Go ahead, Jonathan. You're right.
No, TC. Once again, did the Supreme Court rule on a sitting president? Yes or no?
The Supreme Court dismissed emolument cases against Trump that were brought while he was president.
Yeah, but
Okay?
they
So
dismissed him because he was no longer in office.
the Supreme Court dismissed the cases, is the point. I didn't make any type of designation or resignation as to why they dismissed it. I said it's come before
You
the
know what,
Supreme
TC?
Court and they
TC,
dismissed
you know what,
it.
TC?
And I was
You want to be right
100%
because
correct.
you want to be right. Go ahead, and be right, okay? Because you knew what we were speaking about. These are the games, and guys, all I care about is the people here learning something. I don't want to. It's not about being right. I want the truth out here.
That's
Okay?
typically what somebody says when they're wrong.
Excuse me.
That's typically what somebody says when they're wrong. I don't care about being right. What do I got to be right for? I want everybody
No,
to learn something. I don't have to be right all the time.
We're talking about a sitting president, TC. You're talking about a former president, okay? Where they say it's no need to
Jonathan,
rule on
the
that because we
cases
don't
were
have to deal with
brought
that.
while he was a sitting president.
Yeah,
Just because they
but
dismissed it because he's no longer sitting doesn't mean a hill of beans. You can still bring a case against a former president. They decided to dismiss it
See, the
because
reason
he's
they
no
didn't.
longer president.
Once again, they didn't want to rule on that, TC, because they didn't want to set the precedent. Because once again, they didn't have a city president. They didn't have to decide on that case. They dismissed it, TC, and so that's what you don't get. Okay, guys, listen to me. Sometimes courts don't want to set that precedent. They don't want to do that. Okay, and so TC, he's being disingenuous when he said that disingenuous when he makes it out as if we weren't, you know, that the Supreme Court ruled. You know, he said they ruled on it. He didn't say they dismissed it. He said they ruled on it. Is what he
That's a
said.
ruling. It's a
No, no, it's
ruling.
not a ruling. That's not a
If you
ruling.
dismiss a case,
That's
it's a
not a ruling.
ruling. All right, we're done.
Well, let me come in here and say, if you guys are saying that there is nothing wrong, that your president is not benefiting from his office when he's holding golf tournament for Saudi royal family, and at the same time, after that, we hear that his company is investing billions of dollars building resources in Saudi Arabia, and he has raised $2 billion from his crypto, and he's investing it not in America but in Abu Dhabi. If you guys really think that this is the way the American president should conduct itself, then I don't know what you think, what you envision the future of America will be, the future of the presidency would be, because all these things seems to me to be improper, especially when they are happening after you must have fired all the people that are supposed to be guardrails, inspector generals, and the ethic officers that are supposed to be guardrails against all these practices. And you think that this is right. You don't know the effect of corruption. And I don't think you have the best interest of this country at heart if you excuse such practices. I'm done.
I agree.
I agree.
Have you heard the latest agreements that they're working on right now? They haven't made any agreements as of yet, but they're making agreements with other countries to deport people to other countries now. They're moving to other countries. They're actually that's what they're focused on. This is not about American people. And yes, they clearly are investing in Saudi Arabia. It's crazy that for people that don't realize that this is what's going on. I mean, he's making side deals and he's getting money in his pocket. It's just unbelievable. This has nothing to do with the American people. It's really just such a shame. I don't even know what to say. I can't even watch the news anymore.
I agree.
So anyway, with that being said, folks, with that being said, Donald Trump did an interview. All right. And for all those that's defending Donald Trump and say he's right and this is wrong, Donald Trump did an interview where he came out and he said that he doesn't know if he has to uphold the Constitution, the laws of the Constitution. All right, he said that with his own mouth. All right, so you know maybe TC or somebody want to dispute that. He said it with his own mouth. Okay,
He never
Donald
even
Trump.
examined the
It's not what he
Bible.
said.
That is what
It's
he
not what he
said.
said.
He
It's
didn't
not
even
what he
examine
said.
the Bible.
Put his entire statement in context. Read his
Okay.
entire statement. He
Serious?
No.
didn't stop like he didn't
Are
stop
you
and say, "I
serious,
don't know."
DC?
Yeah, I'm serious. Play it
Okay.
back.
That's exactly what
Okay.
he said.
Well,
One second.
Lata,
One second. One mic, guys. One mic. Well, guys, we're gonna talk to other people in regards to this. We're not gonna talk to TC on this one because I don't
Or
want
just play his
to.
statement, or just read his statement. Don't take my word for it.
Good, whatever. But once again, you know, it hasn't been disputed, guys. He said he doesn't know, and then he goes, "It's up to my lawyers to decide." Okay, and the Supreme Court and all this other stuff. But he's once again, all right. But he clearly said that he doesn't know whether or not he has to uphold the Constitution. All
That's
right.
not what he said.
Okay, that's good. That's fine. But we're putting fake news out there. All right. So
He
anyway,
literally said he does not know. He needs to consult the Constitution. He should know. He's the president of the United States. He is obligated to represent the Constitution of our nation. So it's very clear when you say, I don't know, as president, he's scapegoating, and anyone to debate that is, they're not thinking straight.
no, no, he did. He wants to argue. That's why I'm not going to engage in it tonight. Okay, okay. But anyway, yeah, guys, he clearly said it, and you know, he took an oath, and his whole oath of office was up. And during that oath of office, he said that he promised to uphold the Constitution and
That's
all the
another lie.
Constitution.
He never took an oath to uphold the Constitution. Another lie.
What
Jonathan
did
just
he
doesn't know
say?
what he's talking
What?
about.
Is
Then
it
what
that?
did he say?
His
Because
anybody
Got
can
and
Google
his
the president's oath.
TC, listen to me.
Anybody can Google the president's
TC,
oath.
one mic, please. Okay, here's the deal, TC. Right now, we're very remedial. I'm myself and the rest of the audience. You're real high level, so we're going to have you stay out of this conversation because you're too high level for us. Let us remedial people wallow on this for a around.
I
Since
don't
since
have to be
no
high level. You can
no
just
no,
Google his oath.
but you are okay.
The president never takes an
Look.
oath to uphold the Constitution. His oath is to protect and defend the Constitution, which has been
Exactly.
debated and litigated by
The
constitutional
protect and
lawyers for
defend.
decades.
It's
Well,
preserve, protect, and
that is
defend the
the upholding the
Constitution
con.
of the United
Protect and
States.
defend. Protect it and defend it. Okay. If you can't uphold it, you're not defending it. So if someone's only reason you need to defend the Constitution is when it's not being upheld. That's the only
You
time
uphold
you
as
need to
president,
defend the
you uphold and
Constitution.
you
Okay.
execute the rules of the
That's
Constitution.
the
You
only one
uphold and
second.
execute.
Mute out, please. Mute out. Okay, because I'm tired of the dumb shit. Okay, the only time the Constitution ever needs defending, okay, is if it's not being upheld. All right. So for someone to come in and say that shit right there, you're either gaslighting or the person that said is either gaslighting or stupid as hell. Okay. The only time the Constitution ever has to be defended, folks, is if it's not being upheld. So
Can we get some clarity on this? I
no,
have
we
the
don't need
actual
clarity. No,
quote.
we don't need clarity. I told you, you're
Jonathan,
too
this
high
is
level.
debate the
You're
news.
too intellectually
Jonathan,
superior for
this
no.
is debate the
Well,
news. I made a
no, I
claim,
know
and
that.
I'd like to
Look, you're too
defend.
intellectually. One second, I'm speaking. You're too intellectually superior to for us. I'd rather just stipulate that you're right, put you in the corner, and let us have our dumb conversation over
This
here.
is not a.
That's all
I
I
didn't
want to
call
do.
anybody dumb.
No,
I
I
said
know
what
that,
you
but we
said
are.
was
No,
wrong,
we
Jonathan.
are. I'm calling. I'm going to do it. We're
No,
all.
you don't have to.
We want to have a we want to have a dumb, misinformed
But I'd like
conversation.
to make my submission
No,
before I go to
but
bed.
your submission, you already made your submission. He didn't say it.
No,
Okay, we respect that, and we're gonna stipulate that you're right. Okay, we're gonna put it in there, and we're gonna go to an alternate universe and reality, and we're gonna argue what we thought we heard. Okay, that's all I'm asking. So with that being said, let's do that, folks. Okay, who wants to jump in? There's someone
yeah,
else
this
trying
is
to jump in.
TC, and I'd like to jump in. What
No,
was put
TC, what is it? What is it jump in about, TC? You already said he didn't say it. Okay, I agree. Okay, in your universe, and he didn't say it. Okay, I'm not gonna even dispute that fact. All right, and your universe, he didn't say it. This is a podcast, and I want people to get something out of it. I want them to get real education, edutainment, infotainment out of this. Okay, right now, I think that in order for that to happen, we need to have the conversation that took place in an alternative universe, not in the universe where you were, where you have the right information. I want us to discuss the incorrect information. So, with that being said, there's no need for you to participate because you're only going to be frustrated because we're going to be putting bad information out there. And I respect you too much to have you sitting here frustrated. All right. So, with that being said, who else wants to jump in?
Yeah, I'd
So
like
the
to
Well,
jump
actual
in.
transcript from the question asked was, "Are you obligated to uphold the U.S. Constitution?" Trump's response was, "I don't know."
then he shouldn't be
I have to
president at
respond
that
by
point.
saying again, I have brilliant lawyers. So, in other words, as the president of the United States, he doesn't know that he has to uphold the Constitution, even though he took an oath of office, like you said before, and it says preserve, protect, and defend. So, I don't understand where TC's logic is coming from, but it's not from this universe.
Well, I don't think we should
It's
actually
it's
respond to TC
interpretation.
because he
It's not
obviously
logic.
doesn't
It's
have any
just his
marbles to lose as
Jonathan?
president.
Please stop kicking me. I'd like to.
Whoa, my guys! Don't kick him, guys. Just mute him. Look, I haven't kicked you. First of all, let's not kick him. All right. Matter of fact, I'll mute out. I'll give him. Let's give him 30 seconds. I just don't have time for
No, we
the
don't need to hear you
I just don't have
like
time for the
this,
30
fake
Jonathan.
stuff.
I
seconds.
will
All
That's
right,
leave.
all right.
important,
I'll
man.
take the 30 seconds. My battery's
Give him the
about to
30
die.
seconds, guys. I just don't have time for all the fake stuff. I'd rather deal with normal stuff. But go ahead.
This is a quote from NBC. In a recent interview on NBC News Meet the Press, President Donald Trump was asked by moderator Kristen Welker whether he believes he is, quote, obligated to uphold the U.S. Constitution. Trump's response, I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know. The president does not take an oath to uphold the Constitution. This has been litigated by lawyers, attorneys, constitutional attorneys for decades. The president's oath is different from other civil servants' oath. The president's oath is the only one that's different and unique from other civil servants' oath, which is to protect and defend the Constitution, which is why you would
And
expect the
preserve, and
president to
preserve, and
respond the
preserve.
way he did, which is that he doesn't know if his job is to uphold the Constitution because even constitutional lawyers don't know if it's the president's
Okay,
job to uphold the
good submission.
Constitution.
Thank you for the submission.
That's a
Anyway,
fact.
But then
you know
after
what? Why are
that,
we arguing that? Go ahead.
her follow up question to him was, do you believe that US citizens have the right to due process because of what it states in the Constitution? And his follow up answer was, I don't know.
The president has been entitled to be able to remove people without due process for
TC,
decades in
okay,
this
TC, guess
country.
what?
And so now that the Supreme Court has opined on it,
Okay,
it is in
okay, TC, your
controversy.
submission has been noted.
Yeah, I
Okay,
appreciate that.
so
Thank you. My
yeah,
battery's about to
Sharpen.
die anyways.
let's go to La La Land. Okay, all right,
Can,
so let's go
can
to
I
La
read
La
something?
Land. Go ahead.
Okay,
But guys,
so
guys, I don't want you guys arguing with TC.
no,
I
I'm
want to
just
talk. I'd rather talk about this because like we're arguing with shit that I think everyone knows. Okay, and everyone speaks to. Even conservative stations are speaking to it. Let's not. I don't like arguing about stuff with people. Okay, that just doesn't make sense. Okay, that's what I don't want to do that. But go ahead, read something divine,
yeah. It
because
says yes, yes. The president of the United States must uphold the U.S. Constitution. This obligation is enshrined in the president's oath of office, which requires them to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution. This duty also includes faithfully executing the laws as outlined in Article 2, Section 3 of the Constitution.
yeah,
So,
look, guys,
Jonathan, can I say
look.
something?
What I add to that is this right here. All right, the Constitution is the law of the land. All right, the legislative branch, they make the laws. Okay, the judicial branch interpret the laws. The president, the executive branch, enforces the laws. Okay, so just by the fact that the president, okay, the executive branch, sole duty, main duty is the enforcement of the Constitution. Okay, the enforcement of the Constitution means that the president must enforce, I mean, must uphold the laws of the Constitution. All right, so I don't want to go back and forth. I just, like I said, sometimes it's fun and other times it's not. Okay, I think it would be a waste of our time, our valuable time here, to go back and forth and argue that the president is not responsible to uphold the laws that he's charged with enforcing, to enforce. He has a whole DOJ, whole department that is just nothing but enforcement of the laws, the federal laws and the Constitution. So I don't want, like I said, I don't want to have that conversation. I think my grandchildren and great grandchildren, when they hear this, they're gonna like, why did he even argue that shit? He's the dumb for even arguing and entertaining that. So like, was he that so unsure of himself that he had to argue that shit? No, I don't have to argue it. I know what he said, okay, and I know that the president's job, okay, the main job of the president is enforcement of the Constitution, enforcement of laws. So I'm not going to argue that. So, but let's get here, guys. When Trump says that he doesn't know whether or not he has to uphold the Constitution, must uphold the Constitution. What is that? How does that make you guys feel? I mean, because it lets me feel like we have a constitutional crisis on the horizon.
Yeah, let me respond, Jonathan. Is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, cool. When a person said like their job is to uphold the Constitution, and you ask them straight to the point, um, do you think it's your job? It's really not even a trick question, but it's like let's get to the next question. But when you answer the question, is it your job to uphold the Constitution? And you say I don't know, you immediately are disqualified for that job. You don't even know whether it's your job to uphold the Constitution as the president of the United States. Not impeachment, not just secure. You have to leave now, sir. You can't. If your job is to manage Target, and someone asks you, "Is it your job to uphold the laws of Target and manage Target employees?" and you say, "I don't know," immediately you just default. Let me ask the question again. Maybe you didn't understand it. The question was, is it your job to uphold the Constitution of the United States of America as a president? Remember the little Bible thing? Put your hand on it and swearing. I, you know, oh, remember, you don't remember that? So now you're saying, I don't know. So dementia, crazy, lost your damn mind, whatever the reason is, you can't be in that position anymore, sir. You don't know that it's your job to uphold the Constitution. That's not a debate anymore. That's not a debate question. That's a question of, do you know what your job is? If you don't know, you are no longer qualified to be in that position, sir. Sorry, we have to show you the exit. We need you to turn in your badge. You can't be that spot anymore because you don't know that it is your job to uphold the Constitution of the United States of America. Sorry. Thank you for serving, but Vice President, you're now running the show. You don't even know that it's your job to uphold the Constitution, man. And the whole world is looking at you. Americans is looking at you, and you telling the world boldly, "I don't know." You just how fast can we get this person removed from this position because we have a whole country to run? Thank you.
Hallelujah.
I will say he don't even know enough to lie and say yes. But I will also add a point. He didn't put his hand on the Bible, if I recall correctly, when they did the whole inauguration, the swearing in. I don't believe his hand was on the Bible, so I don't know what oath he actually took. That's just my take. Or whatever book he wanted to put his hand on, he could have chose. He didn't touch anything.
No, it was not, and he
So
didn't sign the
Well, Mad
ethics.
Magazine,
Ethics.
something, whatever.
He didn't sign. He didn't put his hand on the Bible, and he didn't sign the ethics clause either. And those are big things.
so yeah.
So if I'm doing 100 miles an hour, I can just not sign the ticket, and it's all good. I just okay. I didn't I didn't agree to have to do that. I didn't put my hand on it, so I don't have to uphold it. Either
Not
way,
in a
sir.
position of power though, like he is, and he, I'm sure, feels very entitled and privileged, maybe even to just stomp on the Constitution without an amendment. I just posted in the chat. AI says no. Yeah, I mean, there's a process.
At
You
some
could try
point,
to amend the Constitution and go through
Mhm.
that process, but AI says that the president is not. It's not like just because he's president, he doesn't have to follow the Constitution.
To save
The
money, to
I,
president
have
I
takes an
think
oath
that
that he is
all
to
I don't
preserve,
know.
protect, and defend the Constitution. Those words have meaning. His job is very clear when he takes that oath. It is not the same oath that other officers take, which is to
But he doesn't
support the
know that, CP. He
Constitution,
doesn't know
okay,
that.
that
which
is
is to
just a that's
uphold the
just a word.
Constitution.
He
to
That
doesn't
is
It's
know
an
just
manage.
a
important
that's
distinction.
a
It's not
yeah.
just a word.
You're just
he,
playing a word game here.
No, it's not a word game.
Everyone who chooses to serve our country chooses to be responsible for upholding, protecting, and honoring the Constitution. And so there's this question that Jonathan asked, which is, how does it make you feel when you listen to your president say that he doesn't know if he is going to uphold it? Or if, when they ask him if he believes that all citizens have the right to due process, and then he says, I don't know. And I think what this does is we have to be honest with ourselves. How do you feel when everything that you're standing on, you oftentimes come back to this document? You oftentimes come back and say, well, the Constitution says this and the Constitution says that. But now the very person that is supposed to be at the head of our country to make sure that it is upheld and that you and I are protected is saying that they don't know.
when you
You can't
become
be
a
honest with
citizen,
yourself and say that it makes you feel a bit uncertain or you're concerned or you question anything. You can't be honest about that because to me that's what it does. It does make me concerned because that is what we're standing upon. We're saying this document is the fabric that holds our country together. This is what gives us our freedoms and our rights.
You know,
It's oftentimes what you refer to too, TC.
when you become a legal citizen, don't you have to
But
uphold the
wait, I
Constitution?
just
Don't you
think
have to
that
live in
what she
alignment with the
just
Constitution?
proclaimed is just perfect. I mean,
I could have.
Look, we have a man in power that even said he would love to suspend the Constitution. So for him to sit there and say, I don't know, is right in alignment with the borderline fascist ideology. This man wants to be a king, right? He said it. We've heard the rhetoric. We see what we're witnessing it, and it's not surprising for him to say, I don't know, because he doesn't want to say, yes, I will. Why couldn't he say, yes, I will? Right? That's the proper thing to say. He's lost even more integrity. This man does not know what leadership is. I don't know what's going on right now. And for anyone to come on stage to kind of, I don't know, are you trying to
Defend.
defend this? Are you okay with this? I don't think. I think 99% of us on this stage are not okay with this. And if you're okay with this, well, I hope he pees on you when you're on fire. I land.
I wanted to add, he's
you're
if you
saying
pay attention
fascist.
to how he
It's
speaks,
just like just
he's
mind
very
blowing that.
calculated in the way he answers questions now. Like those quote unquote legal questions, he defers, well, I have to talk to my lawyer. Or when you ask him direct questions about, well, the people voted for you because you told them this, and now you're reneging on this, he'll act like I never said that, or he'll kind of like pivot away from the question. So he's very, very calculated in how he's answering these questions now, and he knows exactly what he's doing. And the people that continue to sit there and say, "Well, wait and see," and all these other questions that they repeat like parrots, it's just weird to me. I'm like, what kind of cult are you guys in? Because you sit here, you know he's doing wrong, but you won't even admit it to the people that are questioning it. You know that he's doing something incorrect. He's doing something probably borderline legal, but nobody has the balls enough to call him on it or to hold him responsible for anything. You know these things, but you continue to sit there and allow him because you have this quote unquote dream of what America is supposed to be or what you think America is going to be. Nothing he is doing is benefiting the average person. Nothing. And if you listen to this interview, when he talked about the doll, and I'm sorry for dragging it, but when he talked about, well, we don't, you don't need to buy your children 40 dolls. You can just buy them three. To me, that now you're sounding like you want to control how we spend and how we spend our money because you feel like we shouldn't spend our money a certain way. It's all very authoritarian, all very controlling, and people need to wake up. They so afraid of that word woke. Wake up and listen to what this man is actually telling you because he's telling you. He told you before he got elected. He's telling you now what he's gonna do or what he's not gonna do, and we want to act like we can't hear it or we're blind, deaf, and dumb. That's ridiculous. I land.
Jonathan, I think at night he just be sitting there talking to Melania like these dudes have no power to stop me. Like I think he laughs at Americans and just like I can tell them I'll shoot somebody in New York in the middle of the damn street. They're not gonna do a damn thing. I'll tell them I don't even know if I should follow the Constitution, man. I don't even know if I should or not, and they're not gonna do a damn thing to stop me. I think he realizes that there's not enough muster, power, backbone in America to check him. I think he realizes that I can say, I can tell you, I don't have to uphold. I don't know if I have to uphold the Constitution or not in a straight face in an interview, and then people like TC or whoever else is going to cape for him. Like that's the American thing to do somehow. Like that's what you want in a president. But and you have anything to base anything on tomorrow when you walk out your house. And when the leader of the whole damn thing is saying checking immigrants and illegal and this and that and just grabbing whoever he wants to, no due process. But a citizen, a basic citizen knows you got to live according to the laws of this land based in this Constitution of the United States of America. But the one running the whole thing can say in front of the whole world, I don't know, reporter woman, I don't know if I have to uphold the Constitution or not. You know, waiting to see what see. I got some good attorneys on the case, and what country can you do that in? Name me a country where you can lead the whole country, but you can say to all the people in that country in the world watching, I don't know if I have to live by how we say we're gonna run China or Japan or Canada or but you're running that or England or wherever. And you can just say in front of all the people of that country, I don't know if I have to actually follow the constitution of how we've all agreed we're gonna run this country. I really I don't know. As you're doing 100 days of dismantling, as you're just like putting in here, get rid of these people, do like history will probably say, where the hell wasn't there anybody that could check that? Was there like no organized group that says the very Constitution of America is the guiding principle? Now you could debate it, but to say I don't know if I have to live by it, uphold it, if it's like, what the hell do we have then? What is this? It's not. It can't be
But
America. It can't be the Constitution that we have. I
Well,
think
we
it
have the
is.
Supreme Court and the executive orders, right? I think didn't some of them get shot down because they weren't constitutional? And
That's
the
different. That's
the
that
executive
is that
order with the
believes in the
executive branch
Constitution.
doesn't have the power
That
that the
believes.
Constitution has, right? TC.
Please leave this year out of this.
that's
But
correct. The
I think
Yeah,
this
Constitution
yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
delineates certain responsibilities and
Allie,
powers.
Allie, you do that again, you're gone. If I moved on from someone, you don't have the right to bring someone back into the conversation.
That's some funny shit, Jonathan.
Hey,
Elliot
You
Jonathan.
bring
know,
me back in the conversation.
it,
I brought
it,
myself back in the conversation, Jonathan.
you
Stop it.
know, you might think that this is funny, and this is not funny, okay? And this is a very clear sign that when people say that America is in decline, and this is some of the things that they point to, okay? Because when you watch all the empires, all the civilization that have collapsed, they started collapsing from decay from the inside. What you just witnessed, your commander in chief that control the strongest force that the earth has ever experienced, have people that are dying, shedding their blood, contributing their family members to this cause to defend the Constitution. And the man that commands them is vacillating whether it is his duty to uphold the Constitution. That is very frightening. The one single document that the world has ever been afraid of is American Constitution. There's never been anything like that in the history of the world. And it has made this country, carried this country to the greatest height. And the man that is supposed to be protecting it and upholding it is vacillating on that duty. I was shocked when I heard the interview in the Oval Office. There is a copy of the Constitution at the Oval Office. And he was asked, what does that mean to you? He said it means to him, it's what he says, it's a
The
declaration
declaration of it was
of
the Declaration of Independence.
a declaration of peace, of unity, which is contrary to what the Constitution. It shows you that, this man doesn't understand what that constitution means and what she stands for.
Sir
Okay?
Jude, it was the Declaration of Independence, not the Constitution. Just a correction.
Also,
What
though,
is the
another good
difference?
document.
There's a huge
What is the
difference.
difference?
The Declaration of Independence
Please,
declared
let me
our independence
please.
from England, and he did not say that. I'm just you said the Constitution was on the wall. That's all. I'm just making that
Bro,
correction.
I, I no, I shifted from the constitution and I'm telling you what happened at the Oval Office. Okay. When he was asked about that question, his response shook me. Okay. I am somebody that has at least done a little bit of studying in American history. And I know I can draw a very big distinction and disparity about former leaders of this country and their commitment to uphold what this country stands for. And the world is at the crossroad now that we are seeing a conflict between the libertarian ideals this country stood for and has espoused with the growing and the emergence of authoritarianism. That's where we are now in the world. And to see that there are people that deem themselves to be educated, at least enlightened, to be on that part of new authoritarianism that is breeding up, it gives me trouble. And I don't know what the future of this country is going to be if we continue to espouse this sentiment. America is declining if we have people like this that are thinking about this, that you don't even know. There are people who would defend a commander in chief that doesn't know if he has a duty to uphold the Constitution. Should that even be an argument? The world is hearing this and they are laughing. China is raising their flag. Putin, all these authoritarian regimes around the world that is laughing at democracy, telling you that your democracy is nothing. They are now laughing that your commander in chief does not even believe. What is the Constitution if it's not the defense of democracy?
You
I'm
know,
sorry, Alan.
if I'm the head of the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Marines, and I'm taking my instructions from the commander in chief, what is the morale that I can now portray to all the troops that's out defending this Constitution? It's the only thing that makes you have anything to stand on as you dealing with the whole rest of the world and defending the all of what that is. And you gotta hear what does that do if you willing to, you've got your life on the line and all the soldiers that put their life on the line and male, female, every ethnicity that makes them that's an American and they stand on bleed, die, kill, man, whatever, get vaccinated, whatever, in the name of this Constitution. And you say, is it your job, sir? Just as a basic groundwork of the conversation as we move forward, of course. I mean, it's not like an of course question, but is it your job to uphold the Constitution? Before we get to the next part, I don't know, bro, bro. Do you know? I mean, you can't be the head of name a company, Kaiser. The boys club and it has a motto, a creed, a constitution, a preamble. It has a the Pope. I mean, you don't know, this is the thing that we are, and you're heading us all, whatever the thing is. The school board, whatever, the LA Unified School District, whatever, you're over that whole thing. It has a creed of how it operates and what it's about, and you're sitting here telling everybody, I don't know if I have to uphold it, bro. That'd be scary. I ain't in no, I'm not in no position like that, but I'm in a part of some other organizations and groups, and to go in front of the group, that's whatever the hell the group is, and say, I don't know if I'm here to uphold what we say we all about, bro. I don't know how I would sleep that night. There's some serious organizations on this planet doing some serious business and work, for profit, nonprofit, whatever. Some big causes, big missions, and now you saying to everybody, I don't know if I'm here to uphold that. What we say we about.
I'll jump in, sweet. Let me just say this, because when we sit here and we listen to this, and the bigger news that I believe that happened today, when you think about his statement, because you guys, when you look at his, because so much happened, you listen to Donald Trump's statement that he said, and you're like, okay, that's ridiculous. We know he's supposed to uphold the Constitution. Okay, he's supposed to know that, but he said he doesn't know. A man doesn't say that. Okay, because he says that because it's shocking, and he has more shocking things to say. So he desensitizes you to him saying that. Okay. Now, when he desensitizes you to him saying that, that's par for the course. You understand he's going to say that. Then he says something that's even more shocking that takes it further. But what you guys aren't doing is, like right now, Donald Trump doesn't have to be the brightest guy in the world. He doesn't do all. He has a lot of people behind him, and they're playing chess, not checkers. All right. There's some very important news that came out today that a lot of you guys aren't paying attention to. and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but when you listen to this Constitution thing, he's going to reduce the role of 4-star and 3-star generals by 20%. Is what Pete Hegseth came out and said. All right, that's what he's going to do. I think there's like 37 4-star generals or something like that. I don't know, whatever. But he's going to reduce it by 20%. All right, what does that mean? Well, that means that the generals that won't listen to him, the generals that won't follow his orders and won't do illegal shit, they're going to get rid of. They're going to get rid of any generals they think will put up any resistance, okay, to questionable orders. All right? They're going to keep only the MAGA like generals, not the generals, okay, that not the generals that can stop illegal shit from happening. So, because there's no reason for, remember, he's going all in the military, $1 trillion budget on the military, all this other stuff. But yet now he's cutting the generals. He's getting rid of generals, the head. And those 37 generals, 4 stars, they're across every branch in the military. Okay?
You betcha, Jonathan. You're exactly right. And
What?
they're actually negotiating to send people to
What's
Rwanda and other
what?
countries.
Yeah, yep,
So
yep, yep. So, what I want you guys to be mindful of, okay, you guys are sitting here playing like, oh, whatever, and we're like, oh, you guys are laughing or thinking that this is ridiculous. You guys don't know what the implications of this could be. All right. So now, when you couple that with the fact that they're just getting rid of top military people. Remember, he fired a lot of top people in the agencies because he was able to do that as president. Anyone that was not mega loyal, he got rid of. And then he went and said, hey, the people I can't control, he went to the Supreme Court and said, hey, I need to be able to fire some of these independent people. And then he fired the inspector generals. What does the inspector general do? They hold them accountable. All right. So he got rid of the inspector generals. All right. Now, the one thing we have is the military. All right. And so there's a lot of lifers in the military that will not do what he wants. All right. So guess what, folks? He actually just put into play, uh, put into play the what you call it, to get rid of the military, to get rid of people in the military he think will be a problem later on. Guys, this is a very dangerous game. Okay, it's strategic and it can be very, very dangerous. So that's something I want you guys to think about because you guys are looking at stuff all together, like, oh, running around crying about this, and you guys aren't tying shit together. That's why I wanted to bring this conversation forward because I wanted to put that out there, and that's why I didn't want to have that argument with TC, because I wanted that this is some important stuff that a lot of people aren't considering. With that, I'll land. Anyone else wants to jump in? Really miss anyone because once again,
I vote for Trump being sent to Alcatraz. Okay, that's what I say.
I appreciate your comment, Colleen. Well, that would be a funny, clever twist
It's not even
if
only funny because it's so hypocritical to everything he claims. The Deutsch, that was an information grab on Elon's part. That had nothing to do with cuts. Everyone's getting their jobs back. It's going to cost the government more money than he hasn't saved us a dime. The joke is, then Alcatraz is not a place where you actually are going to have inmates. The cost of money but they are taking steps to do that. That is wasteful money that they're taking to to look to actually put people in prison in Alcatraz. Doesn't make any financial sense at all. And for us to be even discussing this right now, it's just like, well, then do it, dude. And like, after this is all done and said, let's see if you're in Alcatraz. Because it's not even, he's wasting money. He's going to make on his birthday, he's going to have a big, army, big party of, military. I mean, we didn't win a war or anything. There's no reason why we should be bringing out our military on his birthday, but Trump wants to. Do you know how much money that's going to cost too? I mean, the whole thing's it's a shit show, and it's a waste of time. Our judicial, system, who's highly respected. These people, you don't want to be turning on them. I mean, they already are nervous about their lives, as judges. I mean, he's just shitting on them. You got JD Vance, I mean, the whole thing is just a complete embarrassment. I mean, it's just such a shame. And it's just, I don't think that we're going to be the same again because of this. And if things don't change. So I hope some of you are talking to others that might be putting their hat out there to run, because people need to start talking about this rather than getting caught up in all this other bullshit about, we know he's breaking the Constitution. He's not following the ethics, all that jazz. Okay, it's a fact. So anyone that tries to, we shouldn't be having these conversations. But who's going to run? Come next year. And that's what I want to hear about. And how are we going to take action to change it? Because we don't want to see our economy degrade, because he's making a shitload of money right now. We know this for a fact. So, but this is not about us. It's about him and his ego and his broken ego. And he's acting nuts and very senile because he says the same shit every day about the previous administration.
But JB, I got a different take on his statement, and don't kick me down. And we good peoples. I think his dementia kicking in. That's one thing. But today when he gave that statement, I think him honest. How this brilliant man don't know? He gave us. I mean, he was playing us because we know he know his role. But like Sweet said, if he don't know his role, he should be fired. But we know Trump don't like to read. He didn't like to be briefed in the morning when he was president the first time. So who's to say that he read his job description? Who's to say that he actually know the Constitution? And maybe he one line to us. He don't know what he's supposed to be doing in that office. Therefore, he shouldn't be there.
Or maybe a lawyer told him to say you don't know, because, I mean, if he says, okay, I do know the answer, and he doesn't say I don't know, then maybe somebody comes back and says, why did you do all those executive orders if you knew it was against the law that you're obligated to follow, that you said you knew about, right?
No,
So maybe
no,
it's
that's exactly
That
that.
makes the
That's
most sense.
no, it's not sense. It's what he has to do. So that's the thing, is you're right on point. That's exactly what he's basically, taking the fifth. Essentially, he knows the judicial system very well, so he knows not to actually answer the questions, because then he won't be held upon those answers. However, the judges are not liking this, and we're all seeing it for real. So there's no question in anyone's mind that he's he is what he is. He pushes up against the law. That's how he's made a lot of money. But he's not. The thing is, he could have ridden this out and made a lot of money and made sure that our economy did well and brought down the price of things. But instead, he's spiteful because of what happened previously, and that's his problem, because we don't own that. He did what he did, and he doesn't want to own it, and he wants to change the narrative. So it's just really exhausting, because we shouldn't be living in these unknowns, because Apple stock's going down. We don't know how things are going to turn out right now. It's not looking too pretty, and the way he's continuing with these crazy thoughts, like, let's open up Alcatraz, it's like, what are you going to come up with next week, motherfucker? Sorry for my bad language, I apologize.
We're talking about accountability. We're talking about checks and balances. That's the whole, at the core of that whole constitution is about making sure what we're watching happen doesn't happen. And a person that people kill me with this. Well, I appreciate the fact that he's honest. He said he was going to actually destroy the whole constitution, and he's doing it. How do you sleep comfortably? Like, when a police officer, anything, there's rules behind what you can do. It keeps you from just going off and you know. Everybody has a bad day, a
Hold
good
on,
day.
hold on. So you think he's honest? I mean, honestly,
No, 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 no,
you
no.
appreciate that he's
I'm not.
honest,
No,
is
no,
what you
no, no.
said.
Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm not thinking he's honest or not honest. I'm talking about everybody listening. The person is telling you, I don't know what my job is. I don't know. On any driving a truck, I don't know how to do what I'm talking about. I don't know what you got me here to do. I don't know how to do it. I don't know
No, no,
what
no. He's
I
been
don't know.
instructed. No, he's president. He knows what he's doing. It's a
I'm not
strategy.
going off of I'm not going
Attorneys
off of
telling him not to
speculation.
basically hold himself in a position where he could
I'm
actually get
not.
impeached. So
It
that's the
doesn't.
thing is for you to. I'm just making sure that you understand this
No,
because
no,
I
no,
think
no,
it's
no,
real
no, 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 no,
important.
no, no,
It
no,
is
no,
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 it is
no,
lawyers
no,
talk that is telling him to not
no.
actually put himself in a
I'm not.
corner because he's doing what is against
I'm
the
not.
Constitution. So
That's
that's why he's
irrelevant.
protecting his ass.
That's
And the
irrelevant.
president is kind of like a
It's not.
surgeon. You want him to get it right.
It's not what I'm talking about. It's not. I don't care about. You can't put certain things on your lawyer. When you are running the United States of America that has a constitution, the only thing that directs your movement is that. And to say
No, the only thing
I
that
don't
directs
know
Trump,
if I
administer.
am
No, no. Let
here.
me finish. Is attorneys. He is against the
I'm
judicial.
not
He
talking
is
about his
trying
logic.
to. He's the only thing that
That's
he doesn't
part of
care
the
about the
problem. You're
economy
discarding
anymore.
his
I
logic.
said this a while ago. The only thing he cared about was the stock market, but then
I
he
don't care
denounced
what he
that the
cares
stock market and
about.
the judicial system.
I don't
Now it's
care
all
what he.
about
I
the
don't.
judicial
Why are we
system,
thinking
and
about
that's
what he
why
cares
he's saying
about?
I don't know because his attorneys have told him that. And for you to
Who
buy into that,
cares?
he knows what his role is. He
No,
knows it
listen to
very
me.
well.
You're
And do
getting
not. That's why I
quiet.
want to make sure. And I know I'm carrying on, but I want to make sure you understand. He
No, I
knows
want to
damn
make sure
well what
you
he's doing and why
understand. It
he's saying
doesn't
that is
matter.
because he's been advised.
I want to make
After
sure
the
All
that
right,
you
gentleman,
welcome
get
to
I
Debate
want to
the
what.
News,
respond to
folks.
one
Welcome to
thing
Debate the
Colleen
News,
said.
guys. So anyway, Debate the News, guys, is a podcast. So what I would like for you guys to do is, if you're listening at home, make sure you guys download the Chatter Social app and come join us live. If you guys are in the room, we have the link up top. And you guys are able to follow the podcast and download the podcast as well. So once again, the podcast is up top. Download it, well, follow it, and download 10 episodes or so. And we're everywhere: Spotify, iTunes, Apple, Amazon, Overcast, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, Pandora, wherever you could think of, we are there. So I want to make sure you guys understand that. So once again, Debate the News is a podcast. We're live. Come and listen to us on Chatter Social if you guys want to participate in the live show. And if not, you guys can just download it down the podcast and listen to it on that. But more importantly, guys, if you're in this room, download the podcast because over I think it's like over 57% of you guys are not downloading, have not followed the podcast. Like 57% of you guys, it's crazy. So with that being said, folks, make sure you guys are following the podcast and downloading some episodes. Appreciate you. We're gonna get back to it, guys. Donald Trump doesn't know if he must uphold the Constitution. We've had some people. We had a person. How many people? Is someone here? Is anyone else here that agrees that the president doesn't have to uphold the Constitution? Anyone else here agrees with that? Marty, are you here, Marty? Marty Jones, are you here? Because Marty usually has some really crazy takes, and that's why I wanted to make sure. All right, so Marty's not here. I just wanted to. So, guys, that's what we're discussing. If you guys want to jump in, the floor is open. Does Donald Trump has to uphold the Constitution? Uh, can he not uphold the Constitution and do his job? Revi, you're here. Revi, you said you agree with TC earlier. You still agree with TC? You're in the Matrix. Are you there? All right, Robbie, are you there? All right, so we're gonna come back to Robbie because guys, because obviously he's in the Matrix. Anyone else wants to jump in on this?
There was a person on Clubhouse that was trying to respond to Colleen. I don't know if you want to go back to that or not.
Go ahead, Remus.
I
I
was
mean,
trying
go
to
ahead.
finish my point, and Colleen just jumped in and railroaded it, trying to educate me about some lawyer or something. Here's the thing, guys. The whole point is, if that fundamental is out and you're running the whole country, your part of running the country is a part. You're in the executive branch. There's roles under that constitution. I'm a constitutional lawyer. I'm not one, but I'm sure there's some out there that if a president ever were to say anywhere in American history, I don't know if it's my job to uphold the Constitution, whether their their cousin, their friend, their attorney, their mama told them to say it or not. It doesn't matter. You can't lean on that. You're the president of the United States of America. Some things you just can't say and still be on the job. You just can't say, I don't know. If you're the Pope, there's certain things you have to know about that position. You're running that spot. There's a canon. There's things that guide you. That thing is you have to uphold that against foreign enemies and domestic or what you have to up. That's what you're committing to. That's what the people put you in position to do. Uphold that thing. That's it. Not dismantle it. This idea, I got a mandate from the people to say, come in and do whatever the hell I want to do. This is the rationale you're looking at. And then all the way to, what's today, 102, 101? I don't know. Day 102, let's just say, you get to say, I don't know. When a reporter's trying to find out and learn and see, because you're setting a tone that everybody has to follow. So do people run around saying, "Sir, do you realize that you can't be driving this vehicle at 100, 125 miles per hour over here in this school zone"? You have the right to say, "I don't know." My attorney said, we're still debating that. I don't know. How does that? So there's nothing to check that individual. Nothing. There's
Well,
no.
like I said before, that is an example where you're not in a position of power. And I think that Trump believes that, as president, he should be having more privilege and entitlement than anybody else that's a normal citizen. And that's the big reason why a lot of people are, saying authoritarian grab is a fair way to portray what he's doing. Whether it's executive orders that get shot down by the Supreme Court, right after they, draw all these numbers, up and say, we're saving everybody this amount of money by cutting all these programs, which don't get cut because probably it broke the Constitution. I'm guessing. I don't know if anybody knows why the executive orders that were rejected were rejected. Were they rejected by the Supreme Court? Was it because they weren't constitutional? I don't know, but the Constitution has more
You don't
power
know.
than executive orders, right?
This recurring theme of I don't know and I'm guessing, and that's all we have now. All we have left, guys, is a guess. Who knows? Shoot the dice. Bet on this. There is no constitutional thing, though. Just know that. There's no more. Yeah, absolutely. That is the framework that the new citizens coming in legally. This is what we gonna let them know. There's this thing called a constitution. That's what you are going to be guided by. And then there's different states and yada yada yada. All up under this federal constitution of how this is gonna go. So when the person at the top says, I don't know, just know you don't have to guess anymore about it's just random. You don't have to guess now. You don't have to have any uncertainty, whatever that causes, I don't know, in your own heart, in your own mind, in your own get down every day. Um, but just know the leader of the whole thing is saying, no, I don't know if it's the right thing to do. Who's going to duplicate that? Who's not thinking, okay, wait, that's the new way we're going now. We don't have to listen to this Constitution. It's a different kind of order going on. It's not, and then like you said, okay, different generals and stuff like that. Okay, not only the judges and all these variables a thinking person has to calculate. You have to. You have to calculate all that. If you're 3 years old, 5 years old, you get a pass. But you can't pretend you're not seeing what you're seeing. That's not an option. History won't speak for
Well,
you.
it is though. I mean, that was kind of Colleen and my point that like plead the fifth is a theme, in plenty of cases in the judicial system throughout history. And, a lawyer telling somebody just say I don't know because you don't want to incriminate yourself by saying you know or don't know.
No,
I
let me tell
guess,
you,
or, yes or no. And by,
that's not
being
a
vague, that's what the
no,
lawyers
no,
tell him to
no,
do.
that's
And
not a
he probably
question.
knows a lot he's not saying.
That's not
Can
a
I
question
ask a
like
question?
it's not a question like, did
Just
you know if your wife shot somebody or something? That's not that kind of question.
One moment, one moment. One thing. I want that woman that can ask the question. Go ahead, ma'am.
oh, that woman is Diana Jones tonight. I'm trying to catch myself up. I've been slammed. So, um, to the to the title, right? I put a poll up, and the majority of the people in the room actually agree with what President Trump said in the interview, which apparently is that he didn't know whether he should or has to uphold the Constitution. Not y'all now voting no. Look at you guys in this room. Hilarious. But still, we have enough people saying yes, they agree. I'd love to have the conversation because I'm just catching myself up on the second part of the showcase here. It
I'm so
looks,
glad you just told me that because I was about to leave the room when you
look
said
at
that, but I
y'all.
didn't vote because
Look at
I
the
didn't realize
poll.
I didn't vote. And then I was like, holy moly, because if I'm in a room with people that believe this person,
All
I need to
right.
leave. But
All
I
right, so
just
you
voted.
guys feel very strongly about this. All right, let's talk about it. So it looks like, based on what I, Jonathan, you good if we go?
Were you one of the four
No,
yeses?
no,
Please
no.
share that too,
Nah, nah, nah,
Diana.
nah. I was the sole undecided. I'm telling you, I'm just catching myself up, right? So,
I like what you got going on.
well, well, thank you. It
I
looks like
mean,
he
what
said
you're
it in
undecided
the
about.
interview that it was part of within the context of the mass deportation and the immigration, and whether or not citizens and non-citizens are subject to, I believe, equal process. And his response is that he doesn't know and that his lawyers are checking. And apparently, people feel strongly that yes, citizens and non citizens deserve equal due process. And yet, we have an entire other part of America saying absolutely not, because I was able to read the chat too. So, we've got a lot of people to have this conversation tonight. It is not even 9 p.m. in Los Angeles. So, I would love to have it. Who would like to go first? Because right now, with what I'm reading, I might just change from undecided to yes, I agree
So that's
with
a
what he
different
said.
question, isn't it? About due process is a totally different question than do you know that your job is to uphold the Constitution? Those are two separate questions. So I don't want to conflate the two questions into the same question.
Yeah,
But
and also,
maybe,
it's like 80% by the time that poll closed disagree with Donald Trump.
So I mean, the person that
I
agrees.
mean, 80% of the room is Democratic, though, so there's
So
that.
what
Wait,
is
wait,
the
wait, but in the beginning, you were bragging about how many people now you want to dismiss the audience. At first,
Listen,
you
don't get mad at me because your people and
now
your president are sleeping. Like, it's not my fault they woke up at the
no,
last minute.
but then you're bragging and validating it. Now you're now saying, oh, it doesn't count.
Oh
Make
no,
up your
I
mind.
totally
Oh, let's
said
find
that.
out.
No, for real. You guys definitely in the room. Those that when you guys saw we had that poll, you guys woke up and voted how you feel. That's great. But we still have enough people to have the conversation because it was about 30%. It's a little more than a quarter. So that's enough of people in a 80% plus Democratic room to have that type of conversation. So I'll just pose the question. I can put a poll as well while we hear who goes first.
Pull
Who
it, girl. Pull it. Are
agrees?
the
So,
people?
I'll put the poll, but here's the
Jonathan wants
Tell
to
question.
it.
Here's
ask
the
a
Tell it.
question.
question.
Here's
People.
the question, y'all. Here's the question. Do sit do citizens and non-citizens have equal due process per the Constitution? And
That's not fair. No, that question doesn't work and it's
then
That's
you
not the
flawed.
ask the
question, though.
question,
That's not the
Bing.
question. The
The
poll.
question's flawed. That question's flawed
Okay,
because
ask it your way.
no, because some things is yes and some things is no.
Then make it flawless, Bing. What's the question?
No, go ahead. Yeah, that's your question, but I'm just letting you know that's a
No, but you
flawed
know what I'm
question.
saying? Because look, this is what it says. It says that it was within the context of them asking him if he believed that citizens and non citizens deserve equal due process, to which he responded with, I guess he doesn't know. He's got attorneys that are going to lead him to through the Supreme Court. So, that's what I am I missing something?
And you're walking a
Can
very
I
fine line
can I
between
answer
like
that question?
daisies and flowers. I do like you, Diane. Like I think I understand what you're saying. But the problem is due process right now is what we're, so it needs to be perhaps drilled into, and I respect that in terms of whether or not you're a citizen. But let's try to define that line before we start deporting people to other countries which they didn't even come from. I mean, that's
That's a
the
separate, but
So,
Colleen, that's a
Diana, to
separate
answer your
conversation.
question,
Give me one. Oh, is that Ravi? Yeah,
oh,
just give me
sorry.
one quick second so that I can circle back to Colleen. So, Colleen, I understand what you're saying about that gray line, but I think this goes into a deep conversation that unfortunately gets lost in the drama, and that is the broken deportation system. It is disgustingly broken to the point where it has affected many cities that have become sanctuary cities because we have to be able to deal with a system that takes years to deport people who should not be here based on our understanding of immigration. And so when they have families and they integrate in our communities, it becomes a very, yes, delicate line. But the conversation has to be had, right? Because at the end of the day, we need results and actions because we can't just spend our life complaining. So you can't complain about where taxes are going, about not having A, B, and C, and at the same time complain when you have a president that, yes, very brashly and abruptly is finding and navigating his way through the legal process that we're all watching, try to find a solution to that. So I just wanted to leave you with that. I'll circle right back to you because Ravi wanted to jump in really quick. Go for it, Ravi.
Yes, Diana. So I kind of agree. Yes, legal citizens and the citizens of United States need to have the same due process. But illegal citizens, that's where it's a gray area. Like you didn't like come here lawfully. So why would you need to have the due process? I mean, that's where I get confused a lot.
Let me address that. How do you determine if they're legal or not?
Diana,
How do you
I mean,
determine without
it's
due?
on y'all. You guys are co-hosts too, so you can moderate back and forth. I don't know if you heard. Just
Diana, the
give me a
reason
second,
why
Makita. I don't know if you heard. I think that's Remus or Sweet on the other side. I don't know if you heard him first, and Sweet. I don't know if you want to yield to Makita, but I'm fine either way.
I can yield.
Okay, and then we'll go back if you can pass it back to Remus. Good to hear you, Remus.
Yeah, good to hear you too.
Makita,
Diana, what you brought up is the reason the during the interview he simplified the
you're in the matrix for
question.
me, Makita.
Yeah, it's not you, Diana.
Thanks, Howie. Good to hear you too. All right, Remus, you want to go? And then Makita, the Wi-Fi is gone. You want to try one more time? Makita going
Somebody
twice. All right, she said, okay, she'll be back. Go for it, Remus.
cool. I think that I was responding to a gentleman asked a question before I came off the mic. He said, well, he has a problem with the idea. Well, he's cool with the idea that illegal citizens, if you will, illegal immigrants, illegal people that are here illegally, that they it's cool with in his mind it's like okay, they don't necessarily need to do process. How do you determine if they're illegal or not? That's the whole heart of the question. Did you just you can look eyeball it, tell oh, they're illegal without a due process? How do you determine if they're illegal citizens or not?
Gotcha. That's why I was asking the question, man. Like, I mean, I wasn't trying to
No,
make
no, it's a
a
good question.
judgment
I
or
know I
anything like
appreciate the
that. I was
question. It's
literally
a very
saying,
stimulating question.
asking.
It's a good question. That's the question I want all of us to think about as people. Like I think that's the heart of it is the determination of that they are illegal. Just that alone is how do you what do you use to determine that?
But didn't multiple people have final deportation orders already that just hadn't been processed? Maybe I'm mistaken
Well,
about
there
that.
probably are some stories like that, but there are also some stories of people that are just grabbed and they're gone too.
Okay, let me ask you a different question, and great question, right? So, what do you do? I'll answer your question with another question because I'm not sure. of how to answer yours because my understanding is that the people who are being deported had final deportation orders or they were here on some form of temporary status that was then dealt with through executive orders. Because my question to you is how do you deal with a system where the process of, let's say, validating an asylum, for example, can take literally, in some cases, what would be classified as forever. And then you have to go back and multiply that by the millions of people that are in that same boat, so to speak. Does that make sense? Because then the problem grows and grows and grows and grows. And so to me, again, as listen, man, as right or wrong as it may be, what we're seeing, I think it's leading to a final destination of a re-understanding of what this Constitution means to the current American public. Because when we have the real conversation about case by case. For example, Ravi said, if you are illegal, he used the word illegal, meaning non asylum, none of these other protective classes that, by the way, some people say is illegal anyway, and they fight for decades on it, is someone who crosses over illegally supposed to be protected the same exact way in that constitution than citizens of this country? That's the question. And Jonathan says it may be a little bit flawed or skewed, but I'm trying to answer that question for myself too.
Okay, let
I
me
can answer
address
that
it. Let me
question.
address it. Let me address it then, real
Let
quick.
me just check if there's any new voices, Remus, and then we'll pass it back. Is anybody else
that
who
was
hasn't
that was
spoken wants
slick.
to
That was
speak?
slick. How you
Yeah, I
asking
can
me a
speak.
question and then you trusted somebody else.
Oh, okay. You
Good
know what?
night.
That's fair. Can we just hear his question really quick, and then whoever else was next, just jump in. Go for it, Remus.
Okay, cool. I think you moving the bar in a way that you can't even see when you start again. The determination that somebody's illegal. Do they have a stamp on their forehead that says, "Hey, I'm illegal. Come grab me"? This is the whole point. Somebody has to make the judgment. They're illegal, and that's really what we're talking about. That there's just been this. I don't know. You just got a scan that you can look someone in the eye, and you just are you're illegal. Come on, so you don't get any there's no due process necessary for you because you're illegal. Even if we're talking about just illegals, quote unquote. Okay, they don't. How do you determine? This is what's being questioned: is the rush to determination that they are illegal. Even that right there is because without any kind of process, you just hey, like that one lady that our children and everything. It was like okay, you just determined that you're illegal. It's just a thing where okay, well, like she had rights to determine what she wants her children stay with the uncle, stay with this, stay with that, whatever. And it was just like the ICE is just saying, well, she gave the she. What happens when the people, the ICE or whoever can just say, this is what she said. That's it. There's no process other than they just said so. That's it. You just trust that they determined it. They said, oh no, they were illegal. Oh, okay,
Okay, so
cool.
I definitely owe you the answer to that question because I'm curious too. I was under an impression that I want to confirm. So I'll definitely circle back with you on that. And I heard somebody else trying to jump in. I don't know if you want to jump in now. James, I see you in the chat. I would love for you
So
to jump in.
Nathan, you're up.
Oh, Nathan, you're
Yeah,
up.
so
Go for it.
yeah, my understanding of it is is quite simple, right? If you're an illegal and what is that? Like you overstayed your visa, you crossed illegally into this country, all the above. You don't have the same rights as a natural born citizen. You just don't. You know, to answer his question about that, when a police officer or ICE agent or any type of law enforcement pulls over a citizen, United States citizen, they're going to ask you for ID. If they have proper recalls, they're going to ask you for ID. At that point, if you don't have the ID, then they will ask you, hey, do you have any other information, your address, your first and last name? We can pull you up in the data system and find out. We can pull you up that way, right? So it's multiple methods of them finding out if you're a citizen or not. Plus, they might even ask you at a certain point, which you can say yes or no. So if you say no, I'm not, I'm, I'm from another country, that enhances the investigation upon you at that point, right? So it's not a complicated thing. I think people are just not trying to understand it on purpose because of personal motives or political motives, but it's a simple thing. Most of the around the world have clear immigration policies that handles immigration. We're the only country that have one of the for me, I feel like one of the unique countries that have this big, massive immigration problem. That's like what the woman was just saying. It takes years for somebody to be deported, which is costly. It's costing us money. The crime rate, the drug situation is going on the border. Fentanyl, like for the past 30 years, most of the drugs came outside this country into the country on the southern border.
But you're moving the bar, Nathan. That's not what we were talking. I'm not even
Yeah, I'm
talking
moving
about
the
not
bar,
not
but
even on the
yeah,
fentanyl part, just the other part. We're not talking about scenarios where they were pulled over, they were, illegal, and it's what's happening is they're just being taken. There is no other step. There is no in front of the judge at all. If you want to expedite that, I'm all for it. If you want to, hey Trump, you got to hire a lot of people to get through all these people, and just say, hey, but there has to be something more than it's just been determined. There has to be, and I know that's not as easy as there's a judge they have to see. There has to be a thing that says, okay, I get it. It's a bit cumbersome, but the other alternative is what we're looking at. Just you can grab people and just say, hey, they're illegal, and there's no check to it. That's a problem, and nobody's
I,
arguing for the individuals that are illegal. And okay, you find out that nobody's saying don't have a process, but and nobody's also saying it's got to take years to get rid of everybody. But there's a spot in between that. There can be a process and determined that for sure. Yeah, absolutely. These are illegal, and a lot of them probably admit it when they get. Well, it won't be a real pushback. But for those individuals, say, hold up, man, I'm not that. I'm not George. I'm not Bob. I'm not Susie Q. That's not me. There's got to be some degree of hold up. Let's talk about that. There's got to be something. It can't just be if you're ICE or a police officer, you get to just because people going into wrong homes and all kind of stuff. People or they thought that was, and they don't get a process. That's all I'm saying.
There any
I
case
think
uses that
I
you
think
can cite of where that happened, where they didn't ask for any ID, didn't ask them any questions, just picked them up and deported them, like without any kind of clarification of who they were or anything like that? Great question.
I don't think so. I think Sweet he was saying that it is a process.
Oh, that's
This is absolutely not true and fabricated in the media. That is totally dishonest and not true. Once that person gets detained and has suspicion of not identifying themselves as a citizen, underneath the suspicion of that person might be here illegally, they get sent to a detention
I'm
center
not talking about that
into
case.
further
I'm talking about
investigation.
Nathan. Be clear. You're saying you think sweet. No, that lady just said it up. She summed up everything I was saying. That those situations is what is being talked about here. It's the lady that even the judge lady that was like the warrant process. You can't just start changing the rules along the way. That's what's happening. You can't just and that's the whole point of Donald Trump saying, like, okay, hey, now you're labeled terrorist now. So now with that new label on you, you don't get no process of anything. And again, it's just the whole point of how do you determine that? But I'm not arguing for those people that are legitimately illegal, if that's such a thought. Legitimately illegal. I'm not saying legitimate. I'm saying they are bona fide illegal. And that's one thing. And then, okay. but getting to that point, and for those that are, okay, cool, and it might just throw a whole net out there, and well, 80% of them were really illegal. The other 20, I don't know. We don't have time to check it out and find out. So, oh well, that's just a casualty of the situation. Like, oh well, we just
So,
caught
so,
some that aren't really, they're not in
so,
that boat, but you just got to go to El Salvador now and kick it from now on.
so
If
speak.
that
Who
happens
does the?
once, that's a problem. That could be you.
It can't be me, but
It could be
who
you.
does the border? Who does the border patrol answer to?
I'm not talking about necessarily
This was
just
going to help.
border patrol.
So this was going to help you. Border Patrol is underneath the Department of Homeland Security. ICE
Uh,
is underneath the federal branch as well.
but
When
be
you get a
clear, I'm
new
not talking
president,
about
he
border
can
patrol. I'm not talking about border. I'm
that
talking about people in their house right now in whatever name a city. They're in their house, and then
brother.
somebody
If you
comes in
listen,
their house and gets them. That's what I'm talking
right? That
about.
who
But
is that? That's ICE,
Remus,
right?
and I'll pass it back to you guys. The question was asked if there were any examples because a lot of the people who are being rated, so to speak, that's what we call it here in Los Angeles. Um, they they do like they've been in a system where they come up and they say, well, you had this deportation order, or you had kind of like in the case of Garcia, where they came out and they said that they had all these different priors on him. We call them priors, right? So to me, there's some type of system. And the question has been more about whether or not that system is a legal one, not that there isn't one in place. And so when I hear you say or make comments like, even if this happens to one person, it's wrong and it's bad, and that to me automatically makes me have to say we absolutely know that nothing is 100% when it comes to
See,
these
I
kinds
don't
of
like
things.
that.
And while we
That's
understand that it's horrible for mistakes, or as they called it in Garcia's case, administrative errors, are unfortunate, horrible, and in my opinion, not everybody's, in my opinion, I think should be repaired. That's just not the case,
we're not even talking
right?
about repair though.
But
I
and
mean,
I'll
we're
pass it
not
right
talking.
back to you. I just want to make sure that we keep in mind at the end of the day, if we're looking for a solution, we have to have the conversation in that direction. That's why, again, to the topic, the more I read about this and the more I hear everybody speak, I do think that I agree with what he said. And I don't know that what he said was as atrocious as we are making it out to be, and turning it into uh, you telling Nathan that it could absolutely be him, when I don't think that that's the case
It
either.
could. That's
So,
the whole point.
Diana,
Oh,
It
one
Makita,
of
you're
the
back.
absolutely
Hey,
could be.
go for
Could
it.
be you.
Hey, so when you watch the interview, you see that they're having this exact conversation. And one of the things that she does to simplify it and kind of give him the opportunity to just put the people at rest is ask the question about the Constitution. So when his answer is, I don't know, then she references someone in his administration who is talking about the Fifth Amendment and the fact that this person has said that everyone has the right to due process. And does he believe that? And this is again where he says, I don't know. He does reference the processes of deportation and all the trials and everything that may have to happen in order for someone to have due process, but she's trying to get to the bottom of this fact so that people can be sort of at ease. It is the I don't know that makes people more uncomfortable, because we can have the conversation about all these things, which they should be had, right? About what processes should take place and how do we take care of people and who should stay and who should go. But at the very basis, at the foundational level of our country, is this document, this constitution, this thing that he swore to protect, this thing that the military, the first thing that you do is you make an oath, to uphold and protect the constitution against enemies both foreign and domestic. Everyone who serves this country takes this oath. And so it's not that the conversation that you're bringing up is not important. It is, but at a very foundational level, just so that we can all agree on this one thing, she was addressing the Constitution? Will he uphold it? And as a follow up, does he believe that everyone has the right to due process? And it is the I don't know that is leading to the confusion. But I just want to say, Jonathan mentioned chess, not checkers. And I think there's also a reason why this is happening, because now I see in the chat and I hear a lot of people talking about, the understanding of and the interpretation of the Constitution and all that. And there's a group of people that wants us to ratify it, to change it, and to have a constitutional convention and all these other things. There's other things that this conversation points to that we need to pay attention to, because we need to understand as an individual what we believe, but also what do we believe our country represents? What type of country do we want to live in? And do you believe in the Constitution? Is this what you've been holding on to the whole time that we've been watching what's happening in our country?
Hey,
I
this is
really appreciate.
Elijah.
Give me one second. I really appreciate that, and I don't know if you were here, but I have not heard the interview. Nothing. I started off saying that I've been slammed, and I was listening to the conversations that were taking place and reading at the same time. So I'll definitely look at that interview because it is a important conversation, right? And I think the reason we're having, at least for me, the conversation about the citizens versus non-citizens is because I absolutely. Think that the Constitution is something to uphold. Having said that, do you believe
That's
that the
really funny. So
American
you
give me
didn't
one
watch the interview at all? I'm just
no no
really
no
surprised.
I didn't, I just read it.
You haven't heard
Makita,
any clips
give me
about
one
it?
second, Colleen.
I'm
I'll
just surprised.
that's good. Can you
I
be
didn't watch
surprised
it.
just in a few seconds? Makita, what came to me when you were saying what you said so beautifully, by the way, because it made me think, the American Constitution, is it for the American people who are citizens? Is it for the American people who have their 2 feet on the land of America, regardless of their origin and citizenship? Those are the things that are coming through for me. And also, if, for example, let's say Trump was voted in with his party and they believe that the American Constitution has started going against the best interest of the American citizenship, should at that point the president be asking himself if he needs to bring in legal experts to ensure that the Constitution is still doing what it was always meant to be? That's all the stuff that came to me while you were speaking. So I don't know if you want to reply. I know that Colleen wants to
Yeah,
jump in, and I think Clubhouse also unmiked. So go for it, Makita.
yeah, I'll reply really quick. I understand what you're saying, and I can see how you see it. We just have to remember that that's the foundational block of our country. And then there are all these other things that are put in place to either interpret it, uphold it, and make decisions based upon it and the people of the time as we go. Nothing is supposed to unravel it. It is only supposed to be added to, not taken away from. Our judges, our congressmen and women, and our executive branch, our president, and those that sit with him, or if we ever have a her, are supposed to be the ones that interpret the Constitution and then make laws and rules and enforce the things that they believe apply to us at the time. This continues to change, but we're not supposed to take it and destroy it, right? We are supposed to look at what needs to happen now, and it's never supposed to be done by one person or one branch. It is supposed to be a collective effort. And so, if we're asking, does this apply to the people of today? We have to also honor the voices of those who sit in seats that we've honored thus far, whether it be Supreme Court judges, whether it be the people that sit in the Senate or the House, and even in the presidential seat. But it cannot be just destroy it and then say, we don't know if we can uphold it. This is the fabric of what we stand upon. This is what everyone who serves the country honors and say that they will protect. So I land there.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you. Makes me think a lot. Okay, so we've got Colleen. I heard CH. We've got 70 plus 69 people in here. Who would like to chime in?
This is Elijah. Am I okay to go?
Go for it, Elijah.
Sweet. Um, yeah, I mean everything that I've been hearing so far has been fairly true. I'm it's really interesting to hear people in this chat talking about our democracy and checks and balances and stuff like that. And just knowing how important it is because at least, excuse me, or at least for the people who have been on Clubhouse for years, know that there's a lot of constitutionalists that are just somehow not here for this chat, which is interesting because I agree with the last person who was speaking. I think that you know, so right now, and I'll just kind of pull this up when I can. Um, Trump was talking about homegrown. So there was a person who said that they're not coming for us, like they can't get rid of a U.S. citizen. So the one thing that I would point to is that there have been documented cases where individuals with no criminal records were deported from the U.S. to El Salvador, and those were so no priors, right? Then you have Kilmar Abrego Garcia, and then you have Franco Jose Carabela Tiapa. And all of these have nothing to do with due process. These people there's been circumstantial or substantial evidence that they weren't in the gang, and being accused of something and not being able to have your due process in court sets up a libel issue for litigation. Because someone could say, all right, well, this administration targeted me and I didn't, I was going about my life and I didn't need to be, I didn't do any of this stuff. So you're looking at the unlawful way that people are doing that as well. So there's other people on the opposite mindset that are saying it's almost like this approach of like, we'll get there when we get there. Let's just deport all of the illegals. And that's not at all how this is supposed to work. Like, we have this constitution in order for us to make sure that we are doing due process by not just citizens but by persons of the United States. So miss me with the whole like, we need to just get the people there, because what you're doing is you're signaling to other countries America is not a safe place for your kids. It's not a safe place if they're going to college here. It's definitely not a safe place to travel. You have Canadians that came down from Canada and they got sent to a detaining center in America because they didn't know what to do. This person went to a border at San Diego, the Mexican border, went into the consulate and couldn't make her way back to Canada. It took like 3 weeks. So yeah, I don't know. I have a hard time, one, believing in the people who are just like, yeah, it doesn't matter, send them back, because we've had conversations throughout the years that have been harder than this. We've been talking about immigration on this app for like 5 years now, talking about how bad it's been with Democrats and Republicans, and now that like things are finally happening, the people in El Salvador, 70% of those people didn't have any priors. So the only illegal part was them overstaying their just overstaying in the U.S., which is illegal. But for Trump to say these are the worst of the worst and they have no priors or nothing on their criminal record is crazy. So I would just go back to the point about homegrowns. I think that when a president is sitting next to a dictator, uh, someone who calls himself a dictator, when they're sitting next to that person the president of El Salvador, and they're saying all of these things like, next we have the homegrown, saying that to another uh, president from a different country, that's crazy. Number one, because we don't have an alliance with them, and number two, it's just a weird ass thing to do. So I yield.
I can respond.
Go ahead, Nathan.
Yeah. So I think what the certain political viewpoint of having relaxed borders and this, taking it not as serious as what we should in the world takes, violations of entering a country illegally very serious. It is a serious violation because the first violation is that you're showing the country that you don't respect it, right? Even if I go to El Salvador or Mexico, any other country, and if I overstay my visa or break into that country illegally, 90% of the world will deal with me very swiftly and accordingly. I will go to jail. They will hold me without any questions asked. They will actually fine me in most countries, or I might be sent to jail many years in prison, depending on what country that is. And right now, I'm not sure exactly the number, but we have millions and millions of illegals in the country. That's a serious problem. It's a serious issue that it's reaching to this point that they're taking extraordinary measures, and they can keep going further with it from roadblocks. We don't know yet, but it's a serious crime. Like, people don't realize, you're talking about somebody being detained from Canada. People have been killed by the cartels here in this country. It's been reported over and over and over again. They just arrested a guy in
People are
Mexico.
killed
He's been
everywhere.
on
You know,
a.
I have to say, like, this is not the first time this administration has been in office. He built a wall, tried to build a wall. He couldn't even build a third of it. He had an infrastructure plan bigger than he had. He didn't develop. China took advantage, and they actually spent that time building their infrastructure, building their ports, building their trains. When he was in the administration the first time, he did nothing. He didn't even complete a third of the wall. He could have very well deported these people in another way. I'm totally in agreement that it needs to change. But we also need to be humane because we actually have not made it clear. And it has not been clear, and that's not acceptable. But, for you to actually, for people to be sent to other countries where they're not from and we don't know if they've done something wrong, that is a line which we cannot stand because you're bordering on the line of which people will not come here. And I don't want to be part of it because I don't want to be seen innocent people. Just one life means something. If they're not a criminal and they get sent away, it is a fact. And if that no one gives a shit about people, well, guess what? All of you have ancestors that came here. So you all think you're all that great and all that shit. Guess what? We all came here, and that is the strength and the fabric of the United States of America. So the reality is, like, the way he's going about it is
Absolutely.
completely creepy and like wrong, and it's not constitutional. He's not following constitution. We all know that. But he had a chance the first time around to do something. He did nothing, and now he has a second chance, and now he's fucking with people. But reality is, he's doing this because the conversation continues to be about this rather than our economy. And that's the fact of the reason that is because he doesn't want to talk about the economy because he knows that he's gambling our wealth and our ability to innovate in the United States of America. Okay, people don't want to come here. I mean, they've cut the schools, medical programs, Harvard. This is unacceptable. People are not going to be coming here. Period. I mean, it's a fact. Our people look at what happened in New Jersey. Our FAA. Do you understand that Elon? The reason the FAA director, that helicopter that hit the plane with all the ice skaters on it, Elon had the FAA director actually fired because because Elon blew that big rocket up in the sky, and actually the planes had to actually be deported, and they filed a suit against him. Well, of course that suit's gone. So the thing is, like, you got to look at for what it is that the reality is they're not looking after the American people because we are less safer flying at this point.
Colleen,
Okay,
Colleen, it's not a matter
did
of,
you look at New Jersey Airport?
Is
Did
he
you see
talking?
what
Colleen,
happened at New Jersey
hey,
Airport? I'm being serious.
It's,
Did you look at New
well,
Jersey Airport?
wait a second. Hold on a second. It's not a matter of, does one issue matter over the other. They all matter to us as American people. We have to take the time to address all the things. We spend a lot of times talking about the economy. He talked about it in the interview today, but we also have to discuss these things as well, just like they're talking about now with deportation and due process. And due process is not just talking about when people are deported, it's talking about any type of persecution. So you're right in talking about things being humane, but that's why this conversation has to happen, because we have to get to the point where we realize and we discuss the fact that it's not just about, are people here legally or illegally? It's also any type of punishment, any type of crimes, that people can't be tried twice for the same thing. All of this are things that come up. But I want to make sure that we give you room to speak. We had someone on Clubhouse, and then we have a
Makita, I
hand
agree with
here.
you.
We have a
I
hand here
completely
too.
agree with you. I guess
I
I'm
was
just
cut
a
off.
bit overdone with it because I see what they're doing now because they're not following. That's the whole thing is like, I just don't,
Can
I
you cut?
completely respect what you're saying. I completely respect due process. I'm not in agreement that everyone should have their due process and it should be, and we do need to reevaluate how we actually bring people in. And we have to take responsibility that these people have come here, and we have to be respectful of our process in which we deport people and whatnot.
You
But I also want to make sure that everyone is aware that they also like that we're talking about all this because they don't want us discussing what they're doing with our economy because in the next 2 weeks things are going to change. So, Makita, thank you. I hear you and I'm totally full in agreement, but I just want to make sure that everyone doesn't get caught up in all this because the reality is they like to make diversions occur when we're in a recession. I hope you understand that. I mean, that's the fact. We are in a recession. Whether or not you want to believe it, a month from now, the numbers will come out. We are in a recession. And it's a man-made recession.
Colleen, I just wanted to tell you this is my first time meeting you, and I wanted to welcome you to Debate the News. I don't know if this is your first day here, but I'm usually here, and I don't remember ever hearing you
I
speak.
think
And
she's
I
from CH, Diana.
can I
oh, thank you
finish?
for man. She brings it, Makita. Welcome. It's
Hey, ladies, it's a pleasure. I'm so glad I was able to log in. You guys helped me out. So thank you. Thank
oh,
you.
I love that. Thank
And
you.
We
I
got a
want to
hand
say,
too. We got a Shemaine whose hand has been up for quite some time here. So when y'all get a chance.
I was
Oh,
cut
Shemaine
off.
knows he can just
So
jump in, especially if I'm here. Shemaine, are you there with your hand up?
I mean, I
No,
was
I don't
speaking. I
think
mean,
so.
she
He
cut me
knows.
off.
We've
Yeah.
got
Like I wasn't being finished.
Nathan and then
Shemaine.
Daniel over here on Clubhouse.
Thanks,
All right,
guys.
very cool. Who's that? Is that Tyson?
Yes.
It's Nathan speaking, but yeah. But I was trying to speak.
Oh,
I was
okay.
so
All right.
rudely
Hey,
cut
Tyson.
off.
All
I
right,
didn't
very cool.
understand
Back to
why
you,
he cut me off. But
Clubhouse.
anyway, back to my point. I've been to the border in the past 3 years, probably about 30 times. The wall was being built at the border. I seen it. Joe Biden stopped it, and we had a record-breaking uh, migration into this country, right, underneath his watch. It actually, if you think about it, if you want to talk about humane, let's talk about Mexico. When those borders are open like they were in the last 4 years, guess who that hurts? It hurts Americans too, but it also hurt the Mexican people. When you have they charge 15,000 or 20,000 per person from around the world to come into Mexico and get sent to the border. The cartels got so powerful they killed about 56 officials last year. And one lady cousin that I knew specifically in Mexico, her cousin was killed by them. So if this is really broader the scope of what we're talking about. The cartels is one of the biggest gangs and powerful gangs in the world, not in just in this region, but in the world. They killed a lot of Mexicans. They killed a lot of politicians, and we're helping fueling it by keeping the border as loose as it is right now. And before she rudely cut me off, it was a person found in Mexico. He's been there for 20 years from murdering like a cop or something like that in the United States. So it needs to be under control, right? And that will create a safer environment for the Mexican people and the people in the United States, and it's going to reduce illegal to drug trade because it's just not somebody buying drugs and selling drugs. It's a lot of murder and death and a lot of violence that goes along with that. So that's my point. My last point.
The borders are currently not open. In the interview, he mentioned that he has declared a state of emergency at the borders. The question was asked, when will they be open back up, and he did not state when they would be open back up.
There are there the
I saw
word
I saw
open.
someone interviewed from Mexico earlier today. Actually, he was a drug cartel leader, and he was masked with gloves and whatnot. And he spoke about it. He said that he feels really bad about what is going on, but they have to feed their children. I said, do you actually hold any accountability for what's going on? He's like, yes. However, the Americans, if the consumers want it in the United States. So that's
It
their
chopped people's
defense
heads
around
off,
it, is that
man.
the United States of America, there's people that want these drugs to come in here. So, but he's like, but in the meantime, I feel very, yes, I do feel wrong about is going on, because, obviously, like, but he has to feed his family. I mean, and he was all like, it was really uncomfortable to watch, actually.
They murder mass people. I see videos on it all the time. They chop people's heads off. They get a chainsaw saw and murder a lot of
I
people.
think y'all
I
are
mean,
y'all are getting
one
off.
guy.
Like, seriously, I know we
I'm
spend a
getting
lot of
confused
time.
out of
We
it.
really do spend a lot of time all the time talking about all the things. But why do y'all not want to spend time considering the Constitution, or considering what
Man,
this implies, or even looking at your Fifth Amendment right, or any of your other rights that come along with the Constitution and what that means? Like, I understand that this is a part of the conversation, but what does it even mean for you and your family when we're talking about the Constitution? Because any other time we lean on it, and now there's a big I don't know around it. So what do you know, and how do you feel about the Constitution? Do you know what it says? Are you
the
are
constant.
you able to uphold it? Like, are you expecting him to uphold it and everyone else that serves our country to uphold it?
Go
Okay,
girl,
let's
go
speak about
girl.
the Constitution. When they wrote the Constitution, let's get back in time, right? America was extremely controlled. We allowed Europeans into this country. Well, they took over the country, took over the land. So those type of issues, as where we stand right now, wasn't around. They also formed the Constitution to expand on it, so they can address current events. These events that's happening right now are not the same events that was happening hundreds of years ago, and it's way more laws and more powers given to the president since the Constitution was actually written as well. So it's been plenty of plethora of laws that's been added to the books outside of the Constitution.
So are
And
you
also,
saying are
too,
you saying
what
that you
the
don't
checks and
you
balances
don't
of it
believe
is for
you
the other
don't
branches of
want
the
him to
government.
uphold it, or you don't believe that it's for you? Is that what you're saying?
It's too, no, that's a kindergarten type of example of what I'm talking about. It's more complex than
Well, could you
that. Other
clarify
branches
the
of the
answer to the
government
question,
can.
please?
Okay, let me clarify it. So the Constitution gives, when they wrote it, it was a person coming from, let's say, Europe or whatever country, right? When that person landed here in this country, that person was entitled to have rights under the Constitution because it was were the only group of people coming into this country. The founders wrote that into the Constitution, saying, "Hey, that person who just came here, he's a citizen now because we wanted that person from that specific country to come here, right? That person gets the rights of this country. We also gave that person land, right? Invested in him, and we wanted those people to come here and we gave them rights. And then,
I
if you
don't
want
think
to
we're
go
talking about the
further,
same
the
thing.
birthright
I
citizenship
think
was
you're
where the
talking about
slaves.
We
something
definitely,
else.
we
I'm
definitely
asking you
not
about
talking
the
about the same thing.
You said the
Constitution.
Constitution, and I just repeated the Constitution. I'm just
An
making a reference
example
to
about somebody from England, bro. Like, I don't, like,
that's when it was wrote. Sweet, you thought it was wrote 10 to 60 years ago?
bro,
I
no
mean, you
I,
kidding, bro.
I,
You don't
I
know
I
the
think
story
that a lot of
behind us
people
being
are
alive.
okay with him saying I don't know, Bikini. And they just
It
hiding
never doesn't
behind
apply anymore.
him saying I don't know. I
Maybe
think
you're
a
trying to
lot
say
of people
maybe.
are just okay with him saying I don't know.
don't
And that's
think that's the
crazy.
The
case at all,
Constitution doesn't
actually. I'm
exist,
sorry. I
bro.
have to be honest. I don't think that, Jonathan, I think it makes him look so ignorant. I don't believe that that's the case at all. I think it makes him look completely incompetent because, as a president of the United States, it's not okay to say, I don't know. If you want to say that you
Right.
want to change, like you want to look at the immigration process and reevaluate, that would be a better, well stated statement. But he's just covering his ass. Like, that's the reality. He's talked to other attorneys and he wants to make sure he doesn't get impeached. And that's
On
a fact.
on January
Yeah.
on January 20th, he put his hand in the air and said he's going to preserve, protect, and defend this Constitution, Nathan.
Yeah, Nathan.
Whenever it was written, he didn't say the updated, abbreviated version of it. He said, "I
So
vow."
what laws are he passing and signing that breaks
Bro,
the Constitution?
hold on. You're moving the bar. We're still talking about upholding the Constitution, bro. That's why even this whole other conversation around due process, that's a whole different conversation, asylum and all kind of stuff, 1951, United Nations. We're not even talking about that. His basic idea of to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution, but now all of a sudden you don't know that you're here to preserve, protect, but you put your hand up January 20th.
He
Somebody go pull it up.
he also
To
has
Yeah,
to protect the
Nathan.
preserve.
American people too, sir.
No,
Yes,
no,
he
that's
Hold on,
not
did.
what
bro.
no one takes an
Bro,
oath. No one
don't.
takes an oath about people. We all take an oath about the document. Even when military people are called, everyone takes an oath about this document. Congressmen and women take an oath about this document. That's why this is such a big deal, is because this document is what everyone says that they will uphold, honor, protect. This is the thing. And it is
Preserve,
about
protect,
from
and
enemies
defend.
both foreign and domestic.
But the thing is, before we give you the keys, when you become a president, great, you've been voted in. But now, one last little thing before we actually give you the keys to being a president. Are you saying in front of everybody, the world watching, put your hand up? You don't have to touch the Bible. Some people do, some people don't. No problem. Put your hand up, though, and say, repeat after me. I'm here to preserve, protect, and defend this Constitution. But now
Yeah,
all of a sudden you don't know?
yeah. He that part where
When did you lose your understanding about that in the last 100 and some days? When did you no longer understand that your job is to preserve, protect, and to uphold and to defend the Constitution of the United States of America?
sweet. You know what he's doing. Like Trump, with what he's doing right now is he's
So
setting a
impeach him
precedent
then.
for. I'm sorry.
Hold on,
Wait,
Nathan.
let him finish. Whoever just started talking, the
That
one
was
who said, you know what he's doing.
Oh yeah. So I mean, what essentially what he's doing, and I would agree with Sweet. I think that when he took that, I mean, it's pretty easy. Like you just ask the president to do the thing that every single president has done for hundreds of years. And I think that, like Nathan, if you were to be framing it in a way where you're like, you know what, I this is the Constitution, this is what it is. That's one thing. But I think it would be more advantageous or more honest for you to be like, I don't like the way that the Constitution's written right now, but I think that in the future it could be amended to have U.S. citizens instead of persons, right? And that would be an easy way to go about it because it's just cutting the bullshit out of it. But the thing that I'm just trying to figure out is like right now, as the Constitution stands, we're talking about all people. What we're not saying that we have the same exact rights as citizens and just people who are coming into the states, but for people who have been here, especially you're especially with Kilmar Abrego and stuff like that. That's what's going on. You have people here that have temporary protected status that are getting no due process, and and temporary protected status is making sure that someone's on their path to citizenship. So whether that's being an international student and then getting a green card, or whether that's seeking asylum. There's so many different legal routes that people are taking, and the president right now is throwing all of that under, like all of that under the bush. So while I understand your point about immigration's real, it has a big effect on the U.S. and also Mexico. I think that it's also really important not to diminish the fact that our current president is saying, what about the homegrowns? We'll get the homegrowns next. And the dude joked about having a third term. So you can't really. He joked about tariffs too, and people wanted to play dumb and or pretend that that wasn't going to happen too. So when a president, a U.S. president, says that, it causes alarm, especially because no one really knows if this dude is going to do what he says.
Well, the one very important thing, which someone did mention inside the comments here on Chatter, is basically that this is not one person's role to adjust the Constitution, but it is his role to protect it and uphold it. So we know that, you know, not every president writes their own speeches. All the executive orders that are coming through, they're not just him sitting down and writing them. But what we must decide and what each person needs to decide is if something comes across his desk that he believes does not uphold the foundational document that keeps our country in line, will he be willing to take a stand for it? And I don't know who said it over here on Chatter, but when someone said there are some people who are okay with him saying, I don't know, you do have to come to terms with that, because if something comes across his desk and he knows it's not right, but he's not sure if he can uphold the Constitution or defend it or protect it or whatever verbiage you would like to apply to it, then it is your safety that stands, now in question, because that due process also applies to you if you get a speeding ticket and someone just decides that, a ticket is not enough, that the process of letting you pay for it or go to court or whatever is not enough. They're just gonna, put you in prison. It doesn't just apply to will someone be deported. This document is the foundational document of every law that is here in our country.
Okay, can I make a point? It's
Yeah,
it's
go ahead.
it's the thing about it is this, right? Here's my personal problem, my opinion, what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a governor, whoever he was, a politician, fly to El Salvador to try to bring back a man who not only, if you didn't even take the MS-13 out of the picture and actually read the immigration laws and what it actually says on the books instead of making stuff up and listen to news and actually read it for yourself, if you commit crimes, you are deemed to be prosecuted and deported. In 2019, that's when he got the deportation orders, right? Through Biden, it was suspended and postponed. Now, let's fast forward to what we know now. He beat on his wife multiple times, multiple occasions, ripped her clothes off. That's grounds for deportation if you actually read what the law says. Even if you are even if you get married and get your residency, if you commit certain amount of certain crimes, it even says even if you get drunk and intoxicated, you can be deported. So if you actually read it and stop watching TV and read what it says on there, then you have an understanding of why things are happening to certain type of people and why they're being deported.
I actually think that
You
if
know,
we took the time to have a room on that and discuss it, it would be something that everybody could actually focus their attention on. But oftentimes, when we go from topic to topic and kind of throw things in instead of dealing with what we're talking about, it can get confusing. Because for me, I don't have all the details on that. When we're talking about the Constitution, I actually prepared today. First thing this morning, I opened up a room in Chatter and I sat down and I watched this interview, and some people came in and joined. And the reason why was because I wanted to hear for myself what he said. But I wasn't prepared to debate, this person's should they be deported or not. It's really a question about this constitutional thing tonight. So, I know we've got other co-hosts in here. I don't know if y'all want to join me, but I'm not comfortable with us skirting around this. I think some people need
okay,
to come to
I'm
terms
gonna
with
say this
how
last
you
point.
actually feel about it. If you don't want to say it, that's fine. But I don't think we should just keep pointing to everything else like it's really about the economy or it's really about deportation, because it's not. This is about every time we
I'm
have
gonna repeat
a
what
conversation, we
Chase.
point to it. So are you going to lean on it or are you not going to lean on it?
I got your point. I'm gonna lean on the Constitution. What you said, Chase put in the chat. Regardless of when the Constitution was written, it's a living document that changes through congressional action. So, with that being said, did you research that, and why do you didn't disclose that when we was talking about
Disclose what? That all of a sudden since January
it?
twentieth,
It's
what he took
designed
his
to be a
oath.
living it's designed to
Okay,
be a
great, but that okay doesn't it
Wait,
doesn't.
I'm
But
just
it still
asking you,
says
brother.
living.
wait a second here.
I know, but we're all talking. She just got through saying other people. We're going to stay focused and not get derailed into. Now you're changing the whole bar about a living document. So that has nothing to do with upholding this living document,
It,
preserving it, protecting it, defending it. That was
So
what
you want
he,
open borders?
oh man,
bro. Why are
you're
you
just
moving the bar
changing the
like this, man?
conversation back.
You keep trying to move the bar, man. Why are you nervous like that? That's not what we're
Yeah,
talking about.
Nathan, if the Constitution right now at this point said no U.S. like and U.S. citizens, this applies only to U.S. citizens, then you would be fair game right now. But the thing is it doesn't. It goes off and blankets over like it's black and white. What Sweet is talking about is upholding the current today, like
Brother.
953.
And
Yeah,
and Ethan, I would like an opportunity to get in here for the first time, and I really understand how powerfully important it is for you to talk about immigration as strongly as you do. And your idea that people in other countries, from my traveling in 35 of them, it's not my knowledge as well as experience that the penalties you describe are so harsh around the world. I could go through a long list of countries that does not apply to, regardless of whether you're right about that or not. I can
Russia and
feel
China.
how important it is to you as paramount thing, but the conversation tonight is about the law, okay? And you're saying, yes, you agree it's a living document, so you must agree that the document it says how itself can be changed, which is never going to be by an executive just choosing to do it because you say, well, he's defending the people. You just have to apply the very simple idea is if Bill Clinton or Barack Obama, let's say, were in office, or Hillary Clinton had ended up in office, or Kamala Harris, would you be okay with them changing the way things are done with respect to rights without a process for change that involved the people as the Constitution lays out? That's a yes or no for anybody, not just you. I don't mean to, take, make you an example, but I think the conversation matters in this sense. The Constitution is, in fact, the people. When the soldiers and he swear their oath to the allegiance of the Constitution, it is that which is what represents the people and supports the people. And let me be super clear. You may not like this. Truths are, very difficult when they're inconvenient. But the law, literally, as we sit here right now, unless somebody changes it tomorrow, applies to any human being inside the borders of the United States. That's not true at the border, by the way. At the border, the Constitution doesn't even apply to American citizens, never mind non American citizens. That's a travesty and has been for many years. But inside America, that's a whole different story. And if you don't uphold that, it means that you just think that some people are protected and some are not. So there really are no rights except whatever guy is in power. I don't really think you want to live in that world if it's a guy that's not on your team. That's the whole point of having a constitution is that you have to accept the kind of power that has a check and balance even when it's your guy. Never mind the other guy.
are,
Only thing I'm
Nathan,
hearing that
what you're
people are
talking about in the
overlooking right
chat,
now is that the president doesn't have the power to change the Constitution. In order to change the
right?
Constitution, it has to be a two-thirds vote of the both houses of the Congress, and then it has to be also a vote of the states. So the president doesn't really have the power to change the Constitution. Furthermore, if there's no Constitution, there's no president. So I mean, that's something that he may be overlooking.
Oh, I don't think he's going to be successful, but don't think that he can't try to suspend the Constitution. He's setting himself up to try to do that. I happen to think that he's not very good at what he tries to do, so I feel comforting in that. But don't think that he isn't trying to do it.
There are currently 28 states okay with having a constitutional convention. And I think it takes like 39. I'm not sure how many it takes, but this is why I said it's important that everybody pays attention because there's a lot happening and a lot happens fast. We don't see it until we point our, we look at it, but there's a lot more happening behind the scenes and up front than we're actually giving voice to. So
Do you
thanks
think
to
he's going to
God.
get a two-thirds vote of both houses?
I really don't know what's happening. I'm being honest. I'm watching and I'm trying to understand where we're headed because it's really easy to make an assumption and think that we know exactly what's going on. But there's just so many different things happening so fast. And, every day there's something new. Every single
Go.
day there's something new.
Well, I just say respectfully, They do have a majority in both houses right now, but 2/3 is way more than what they have,
Well, if you
and the
think
Democrats are not going to vote for him to do this.
if you think about it though, Degar, with the conversation that we had tonight, where so many people begin to talk about does the Constitution apply to us today? When you introduce doubt into a conversation and you begin to have people question their beliefs, they're open to doing things. And that's why I said when Jonathan mentioned chess, not checkers, we have to ask ourselves, why are we now having this conversation? I think it's important that people be honest with themselves about, do they know what's even in the Constitution?
All right,
Do they
folks.
believe that
We're
he's
about to do
supposed to
a
uphold it
hard
and protect
reset.
it and defend it?
Once again,
And
a
what are
hard
they willing to
reset. I want
do?
to make
And,
sure you guys,
what stance have they taken? And what I mean
yeah,
by
okay,
that is, do you
Tyson, you're
know
here.
it?
Okay, you
Are
guys are
you
still here,
able to
guys.
protect
So we're
yourself
gonna be
and
less
your
than 5 seconds.
family?
If you're
Do you
listening to
know
us
your
at
own
home, there'll
rights?
be another episode
But
coming
I
out
think it's
later
a
on today.
conversation that should be had. We don't need
But
to
we're
keep
gonna do the
skirting
hard
around
reset
it.
right now, guys.
So.
I think a lot of things that Mr.